Now, I've had to turn down $50 million 4 times. 4 times. Just to protect my integrity and that hole I was telling you about.
When people are against the Illuminati, then they get punched in the face all the time. The press hates them, and nobody likes them.
Happened in broad daylight, just steps away from the very courthouse where the nation had its eyes glued to Sean Diddy Combs' trafficking trial. Gene Deal, once Diddy's trusted bodyguard and now his most unflinching critic, was reportedly ambushed outside the building in what's being described by witnesses as a calculated, cold-blooded takedown. The timing too eerie, the intent too obvious. Just days after Diddy's stunning win against the RICO charge, one that had him staring down a life sentence. Deal, the man who's been peeling back the curtain on Bad Boy's darkest rooms, was suddenly and violently silenced. Not legally, physically. The incident wasn't caught on official court cameras, but blurry cell phone clips and scattered witness reports flooded social media within hours. One YouTuber claimed Deal knocked him out. Others suggested it was the reverse. But strip away the noise, and what remains is a moment of chaos, one that Diddy's camp has yet to comment on. And Deal, he vanished from the courthouse roster entirely, allegedly asked not to return for several days. Coincidence or a very public message wrapped in street theater?
Prosecution did that whole thing. They went through that whole gambit. Ain't nobody paying nobody no money if they ain't guilty of nothing. Not him. It was a lot of things that the prosecution did their job into showing up.
Let's not forget who Gene Deal is. For years, he was Diddy's shadow, managing entrances, exits, and secrets. But ever since he turned whistleblower, Deal's been on a one-man crusade to expose what he calls the empire of manipulation. He's claimed that everything from party logistics to hush money to coded security ops were part of a pattern. In his words, I was protecting the body, but I didn't realize I was protecting the beast. And now with the world finally looking under the floorboards of Diddy's empire, Deal gets taken out of play just as Diddy beats the most complex charge of his life. You don't need to be a conspiracy theorist to raise your eyebrows here. You just need a calendar.
Violent, horrible. A promiscuous swinger who lied to and cheated on multiple partners. Incredibly, that's how Sean Diddy Combs' own lawyers described the billionaire music mogul, currently facing serious trafficking charges in a New York court.
What's fanning the flames even more is who came forward next. Katt Williams. Yes, the no-filter, mic-dropping, flame-throwing comedian who famously declined Diddy's party invitations and said, "I've turned down $50 million 4 times just to protect my integrity and that virgin hole I told you all about." In the hours following the alleged attack on Deal, Katt posted a cryptic video to his story, hinting that retaliation might be underway, but not from the legal system, from something else. He called out deviants catching hell in 2024 and reshared an AI spoof showing Diddy's face on a courtroom snitch scene from New Jack City. The caption, "Diddy about to snitch on everybody." This isn't just trolling. This is theater with purpose. Katt has positioned himself as the industry's gravedigger, unafraid to exhume what the public was never supposed to see. And now there's talk, hushed but persistent, that Katt and Deal aren't just friends in protest, they're collaborators. Multiple sources claim the two are in early talks for a project that could blow the lid off the industry's inner sanctum. And it doesn't end there. One name that keeps sliding across the rumor mill, 50 Cent, the mogul with beef-scented instincts and a long-standing vendetta against Diddy. If these three are truly linking up, that's not a project, that's a missile.
When I start talking about Puff character and the dude that he was, it was after Big got even though I was still working for Bad Boy, I still was talking about who this cat was. Like I tried to tell y'all, they needed me more than I needed them.
And then there's the whisper that makes insiders squirm, Diddy's alleged silent squad. Some say it's not just a metaphor. Industry chatter, some of it coming from former staffers and minor executives, points to a shadowy operation that's been moving quietly behind the scenes for years. According to one assistant who left the business entirely in 2020, people who start talking end up with NDAs, settlements, or scars. Pick your ending. Another road manager who insists he saw internal emails referencing containment budgeting claims there was a list of names flagged for surveillance and preemptive intervention. Gene Deal's name allegedly was in bold. Now, let's not act like Deal is some choir boy. He's dodged tough questions himself, especially about his role in the freak-offs, and his silence during the years he was in Diddy's inner orbit. But none of that changes what he's been saying lately, or the fact that right after those allegations hit the mainstream, someone took him off the street, not permanently, but publicly, loud enough to send a message. So if this was part of Diddy's alleged cleanup crew, it's not their first outing, and it might not be their last.
The things that I experienced with him were monster-like. That stuff almost destroyed my...
Because here's where the story stops being just physical. Word is Diddy's greatest weapon isn't his legal team or his money. It's something far more chilling, the so-called blackmail vault. This one's been circulating in whispers for years, but in the wake of federal raids and seized evidence, it's getting traction again. Allegedly, there's a collection, videos, recordings, documents that Diddy kept as leverage against artists, politicians, execs, and even media heads who attended his now infamous parties. Parties where phones were banned, privacy was an illusion, and everything was recorded by design. Referred to me as Wild King Nights.
To me as Wild King Nights. And what a Wild King Night was when him and a guest would go to a hotel room or be at his home, his bedroom, and they would have intimate gatherings. I would have to go and prep that hotel room, which consisted of baby oil, ash.
Investigators reportedly seized thousands of bottles of oil, luxury pills, and camera equipment during raids in LA and Miami. And while Diddy's lawyer brushed it off with a joke about Costco, even Costco clapped back, saying they don't sell baby oil in bulk. The insinuation those massages might have been something else entirely. And if cameras were rolling, then what exactly does Diddy have on those in attendance? More importantly, what does he still have if that vault exists? And more than one former assistant says it does. It changes the stakes. Suddenly, it's not just about protecting Diddy from going down. It's about protecting a whole ecosystem. Anyone speaking out could find themselves not just sued or smeared, but exposed. And if that's the case, then supporting Gene Deal, collaborating with Katt, or backing any anti-DUI narrative becomes a high-risk act. One source, a retired publicist who now lives abroad, told us bluntly, they're not scared of the court. They're scared of the tapes.
People want to shut me up and people want me to be quiet because I tell guys it's all right to go to work every day. It's all right to get your education. It's all right to be somebody positive in the community. It's all right to hang out with dudes who call themselves street dudes, and you ain't got to be a street dude to do it.
So what happens when fear runs out and outrage takes its place? What if Gene Deal's attack wasn't the end of a chapter, but the first domino? We're seeing industry lines harden, supporters dig in, old friends go silent, and the middle ground evaporate. Deal says he's not afraid. Katt's making jokes with a razor's edge and 50 Cent. He's reportedly buying up domain names related to the vault's name. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe the dam's about to break.
A lot of these guys who come on this internet, they don't know. Bruh, they don't know that I was a New York State parole officer. I ran Elite Investigation. I ran Tiana Towers, Eastchester Housing, Tiana Towers, and Lampert Housing, doing the security teams around there. I ran clubs.
And if that vault is real, if it holds even half of what insiders claim, then the shockwaves haven't even started. According to 3 different ex-staffers who worked logistics on Diddy's coastal estates, the parties known internally as Freak Nights weren't just social events. They were operations. Wristbands with color-coded access, rooms sealed from security cameras, transportation schedules that move guests across state lines, and most chillingly, contracts with NDA clauses thicker than most celebrity prenups. These weren't your average Hollywood bashes. They were curated, compartmentalized experiences. A former producer referred to them as Sin City simulations, adding that guests often didn't realize they were being watched until it was too late. The speculation only gets darker when names start surfacing. While no confirmed guest lists have gone public, Whispers around private events in LA and Miami have linked several A-listers to the scene, a pair of Grammy winners, a former Marvel actor, 2 late-night hosts, and one high-ranking studio exec whose social media has gone suspiciously quiet since March. Are they guilty of anything? We can't say. But if even one of those tapes leaks, if even a sliver of that vault hits the public, careers could collapse overnight. And depending on what's captured, it wouldn't just be reputations at risk. We're talking indictments.
Now, I came here to this internet to talk about this dude's character. It's nothing I said that could have landed that dude in jail. Any of those secrets would probably...
Makes this even more volatile is the fact that some of the people allegedly featured on those recordings are rumored to now be cooperating with federal investigators. Not because they want justice, but because they're terrified of what's still hidden. That fear, it's becoming a currency. And if Diddy's still holding the receipts, he could wield that power as a shield or a sword. It would explain the sudden pivot in support from certain industry faces who once toasted him at private dinners, but now ghost him publicly. It's not loyalty that's changed, it's leverage.
I'm going to tell you what I think is going to go down, brother. Because a lot of has gone, and a lot of people who wasn't at the trial or didn't hear the prosecution do what they did would think Diddy might be getting.
This is where Katt Williams re-enters the frame, and not just as a commentator. He's morphing into something else entirely. For years, Katt's wild stand-up routines and unfiltered interviews were seen as comedy. Now they're being re-examined as testimony. He warned us. All the big-name deviants catching hell in 2024, he said back in January 2024. The room laughed, but nobody's laughing now, especially not after Katt started sharing cryptic visuals online. Diddy portrayed as a courtroom snitch, himself sitting stoically in the background watching it all unfold. Some fans dismissed it as satire. Others saw it as coded messaging. Multiple sources close to the comedian say that Williams is sitting on stories and possibly evidence he's never dared to share. Until now, one longtime entertainment lawyer familiar with past lawsuits involving major artists claimed that Katt knows things that never made it into depositions, including coded conversations, off-record hush deals, and names of intermediaries used to make scandals disappear. Combine that with Gene Deal's first-hand insight and 50 Cent's digital war chest, and we may be looking at one of the most dangerous exposed alliances the industry has ever seen.
Or I've heard anybody else say until the federal government came in, because nobody knew, Mighty, nobody knew before the federal government came in and hit Puff with those charges that any of this would have ever happened.
For all the righteous fury Gene Deal brings to his takedown of Diddy, not everyone is buying the redemption arc. In fact, a growing number of voices are pointing fingers not at Deal's bravery, but at his timing. For nearly 2 decades, he was embedded deep inside the empire he now condemns. He was there for the lavish hotel takeovers, the tightly coordinated party security, the guest lists with coded notations, and the carefully managed exits when things got out of control. And now that the walls are caving in, his public campaign has raised a serious question. Is Gene Deal exposing the truth or rewriting his chapter before someone else writes? If for him, several former insiders have quietly expressed doubts, noting that Deal's proximity to the chaos wasn't that of a bystander. He wasn't some intern notes. He was head of personal security. He controlled the gates. He was the one escorting people out when things turned ugly or helping Diddy disappear before questions could be asked. One exas assistant from Bad Boy's early 2000 SLA staff told an industry blogger that Gene wasn't just aware he was Oprah, now claims he never saw the worst of what went on. Others insist his silence over the years was part of the cover.
Everybody is using it. Everybody is saying that it's Gene Deal's fault. It's Gene Deal who did this.
Then there's the matter of what he won't talk about. In a now viral TikTok video, Deal was confronted with a question about a party from 2004 involving 2 underage individuals and a fellow guest, who has since filed a lawsuit. Deal's response: silence. He avoided the topic entirely, pivoted the conversation, and walked into the courthouse without a word. For a man supposedly on a crusade for the truth, that non-response sent shockwave. Comment sections lit up with suspicion. Was this a calculated dodge or a crack in the armor of a carefully curated whistleblower? What makes it more unnerving is that several elements of Deal's narrative seem conspicuously vague. When he speaks about the freak-off culture, he often says he wasn't around or that other teams handled the logistics. But court documents from recent civil suits reference staff who oversaw movement between party floors. Staff that allegedly reported to Deal himself. And while he's been quick to name names and slam Diddy's violent behavior, he rarely addresses his own decision. Why did he stay? Why did he help manage security at events that in hindsight sound more like organized operations than private parties?
This journey started right after the Notorious Big was, and even before then. But me conversating and talking about Diddy in the streets of New York was verified by somebody who actually came home, and that was Roger Bonds in probably 2007 or 2008, because Roger Bonds was a dude in the street getting...
That ambiguity has sparked debate even among Diddy's critics. Some argue that Deal deserves protection as a potential witness, someone who saw enough and got out. Others call him an opportunist, pointing to the timing of his YouTube resurgence, book releases, and rumored media deals. If Gene is truly the hero of this story, why are some of his former peers calling him a double agent? There's no denying his testimony is valuable, but that doesn't mean he's clean in a story built on secrets. Even the loudest voices might be hiding something. This twist injects a heavy dose of psychological tension into an already combustible narrative. If Deal was once complicit, even passively, then his current role becomes murkier. Is he dismantling Diddy's world because it's the right thing to do, or because he knows the fire is creeping toward his own doorstep? The audience now has to watch every move, read between every line, and question whether the man exposing the monster might have helped feed it for years. And 50, let's not pretend he's sitting this one out. His online presence may be humorous on the surface, meme warfare, shady captions, tongue-in-cheek jabs, but his moves are surgical. He's already trademarked phrases related to Diddy's downfall. He's allegedly buying up rights to old interview footage, and if rumors are to be believed, he's bankrolling a docuseries pitched as the fall of an empire. We've heard from 2 editors approached for freelance work that the series is pulling in sources not just from music, but from fashion, nightlife, and corporate media. This isn't just about one man, it's about a system.
He cornered me. And then he asked me, with his arm up, he asked me, "How you doing?" I'm kind of like, wow, what the heck? Very uncomfortable. And then he rubbed his hand down my breast. He said, "If you need anything at all, you let me know."
But systems don't crumble without a fight. And if Diddy is truly sitting on a vault that holds the industry's deepest, darkest secrets, the kind that can silence executives, exile producers, and erase billion-dollar brands, then the stakes have shifted. Suddenly, whistleblowers aren't just brave, they're targets. The attack on Gene Deal could be the first of many. Or as one former assistant who fled the country last year put it, if the tapes start leaking, people will start disappearing reputationally or otherwise. Diddy may have walked away from the RICO charge, but that victory may be short-lived. According to courtroom observers, his body language shifted after the verdict, less defiant, more calculating. As one reporter put it, he didn't celebrate, he took inventory. And now, as more former insiders publicly defect and Katt Williams tightens his grip on the mic, Diddy finds himself increasingly isolated. Former allies are rewriting history, old friends are scrubbing social media, business partners are invoking no comment like it's a legal spell. And yet, there's something almost cinematic about how calm Diddy remains. He's still making moves quietly, strategically. A new shell company was just registered in Delaware under a pseudonym that reportedly matches a nickname used on internal bad boy documents. Lawyers close to the case suggest he's preparing for a second front, not in court, but in public perception. If that vault exists, and if it leaks on his terms, He may flip the narrative from accused to accuser. It's a dangerous game, but one Diddy's been playing for decades. What we're witnessing isn't.